Hey, good evening. I'd like to call our school committee meeting of September 19th, 2018 to order. Just a reminder for everyone that we are being broadcast live and recorded for future rebroadcast. I'd like to all to rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So next on the agenda is student representative. We don't have one here yet. Do we want to just table that and maybe come back to it if she does
If the
show
student
up?
shows up, we could always squeeze her in.
So let's table that for now. Next on the agenda is public comment and communication. Does anyone in the audience have anything to discuss that is not on our agenda? Seeing none, we'll move on. Any old business from the committee you'd like to address? New business. Okay. With that, superintendent's report. Mr. Maines.
Okay, so thank you. At this point, the only thing on the agenda for us is Mr. Romano was able to attend another meeting with the representatives of Educational Alliance, so I thought it would be helpful for him to come up and give us a quick overview of his meeting and some of the discussions that we had today at the
Great.
admin meeting.
Thank you. That meeting was today?
So, yeah, we had an admin meeting this morning, yes.
I went out to see the doc yesterday.
Oh, okay.
At Camp Samuel
At, Yes, at his.
on Lake Cochituate. Just the way the guy is.
So it was a very productive meeting.
That's good to hear.
Yes, so I was kind of dreading the trip out in the weather, and then it miraculously got nice just before I was going to leave. So it kind of worked out. So while I was there, I met with Dr. James Ryan, who's from the Boston Architectural College, and he and I worked out the details of a field trip that we can offer to the students. I believe he said that they have some transportation assets that they can let us use, which I'm hoping means like he can send a van out to get us. We need to work out the details on it. But what we planned out was a field trip where basically they could spend an hour and a half to 2 hours checking out the programs at the college, and then one of the faculty there will lead them on a tour of some of the historic architecture downtown. So it's in sort of the Trinity Church area, the John Hancock building area, so they can check out some of that stuff. I'm also going to coordinate with, I'm sorry, what's Kevin's last name?
Kevin Carney.
Kevin Carney, who was previously the superintendent in Uxbridge and is now one of the associates working with Education Alliance. And so he is going to help to coordinate a trip among us, Uxbridge, Northbridge, maybe Blackstone, Millville, to go down together to check out some of the programs that they have at UMass between Stockbridge and Amherst. So some of the landscape programs, the animal science programs, the design programs, and check out some of those down there. The Education Alliance, they talked again about maybe the future of the, I guess what we call now the 1898 building, and maybe the potential to make that into an innovation lab. I keep trying to tell Doc that like we're building an innovation lab downstairs as like to start it off. Yep. Sometimes it's hard. You've met him. Sometimes it's hard to get in a word when he's talking. So where we have the robotics, we're trying to make that into that. I made up a Google form survey to see where the kids might want to go on trips, and I'll send that out. And then also, Kevin had done a lot of work with the new guidance framework that the state has come down with, and so he's offered to come in or bring in some people from Uxbridge to kind of collaborate with our guidance counselors about how they implemented it, and he shared their curriculum with me, and I gave that to them today. And they're very interested in seeing how they've applied the new frameworks to what they do. You know, we have our guidance seminar, so I think our guidance counselors do spend a lot of time in classrooms, so the hard part is carving out the time to do it. The easier part is to kind of take the new framework and put it into practice. So I think we should be able to get, I'm going to see if you can have them come in on October 5th on our PD day. And then I'm working to set up a meeting with the Orchard. I imagine they're getting to their busy season, but
Yeah, right now, Yep.
all those apples.
Absolutely.
So just a couple of quick additional things along that line. I know that Josh and I were disappointed to hear that the UMass representative was not at the meeting yesterday because we were hoping to get more details on the animal plant science piece, but they were not able to attend. But Josh is in contact with them, and hopefully we'll be able to have an opportunity to speak with him if he goes up to UMass with the students. The Boston Architectural College, they had submitted to us a memorandum of understanding After reviewing it, Mrs. Keegan and I were reviewing it, we've made a number of suggested amendments to it, nothing significant, but just to make sure that we still have authority and in control over what our students are doing. It's kind of a boilerplate one, so we did add a few additional things into it. That has been delivered to them. They're going to revise it, and I think at some point soon we should be able to have that in place. The beauty of that would be that it'll allow our students, as we mentioned, to take advantage of some of their courses that are online, or the possibility of them offering some courses using our campus, our building here as a place to hold the course where they could offer it to students in the area to take as well for college credits as well, which is interesting. So that's a work in progress that I noticed that Spencer East Brookfield also has entered into that same agreement with Boston Architectural College as well. So hopefully we'll have some positives on that. And just on the follow-up on the orchard, we, as you know, I've already spoken with them a few times. They are very much on board. I think it's going to be, it will be a really great relationship if we can get that off the ground, and also working with Southwick possibly, and also Tufts, the veterinary school. So just a couple of other things with regards to that. So
Now, I know we had planned some focus groups. Have those happened? Is that
Yep,
on
we did the
schedule?
focus groups too. The student one was great. The kids, we really had a sort of a varied group of students, freshmen, sophomores, juniors that met with Doc. He actually enjoyed that very much. Dr. Wyatt was there as well. One of his, I think you've met her a couple times. Yeah. I thought that session went pretty well. The session with staff, Doc had a really positive feeling about it. I think there were still some questions from the staff.
Okay.
I worked on getting some of those answers yesterday, particularly like how the early college mechanics work. You know, what if they're getting an extra stipend? Where does that stipend come from? How does that fit in to the school day versus after school? You know, there's all different models that you can do with that, and some of them were models that I've used before in previous schools. So, yeah, those sessions. And then I had 3 parents came in, and all 3 of them are going to be on my school council now. So it was very productive for me, if not for Doc.
Good deal.
It's always kind of hard to
Win-win-win.
get people on that. So,
All right.
and same thing. They asked them some really good questions. You know, some of the same questions that we've asked them. That
Yeah.
you know.
one of the things that we knew in our conversations, the 3 of us who have met with them, is that we would have to sit with the Douglas Teachers Association to work out all the mechanics of making that all work. But that would be down the road a little bit
Yeah,
once
there's
we find out whether or not this is really for us and drive it towards making it come to fruition. I think then we would need to obviously meet with them. And
Yeah, I would still
There's a
consider
lot of
this,
work.
a bit of a feasibility phase for us at this point. and, you
Right.
know.
I think there are some of the approaches are really, we could almost implement them right away, because 2 of the options that Boston Architectural does is they can look at our curriculum for some courses, and then just, they have a review committee that can just say, all right, if a student takes this course at DHS, gets at least whatever grade, they come to BAC, they get college credit for it. And if they don't, if the course doesn't quite cover the scope, they have online modules that the students could do. I don't know if there's a cost to that.
Yep.
And they're very, as long as they have a faculty member willing to drive to Douglas, they're open to doing after-school courses too. They have a summer program that they run. So there's all kinds of different options that we can
Would
do.
we consider maybe adjusting a curriculum as well if needed?
We could, and that's another thing that they'll do. They'll tell us what needs to be
10%
tweaked.
tweak on the curriculum that'll.
Yep, they'll work with us on that too. They're looking for a pipeline to get students to go there. So I mean, there is a benefit to them in getting kids
they're
excited
trying
about
to
this.
establish a presence here in the valley, and
Right.
also maybe attract a couple of students to enroll there as well. It is on Newbury Street, so there are worse locations.
Prime
than most.
location.
Yeah. Tough housing, but yeah. All right. Any other questions?
Nope, but he's not going to go anywhere. We're just
Yeah,
gonna
we'll,
keep-
yeah.
There's some
we're
other things to
there for a
talk
little
about,
bit,
but you might as well
so-
just stay there, Josh.
All right. So nothing else for our superintendent's report then?
That was it. Yes.
Excellent. All right, so we'll move on to our school committee and subcommittee report, and we have our accounts payable report.
I signed 9 batches totaling $209,639. Nothing major there.
Any questions on that? No? We did have a budget subcommittee meeting yesterday. I will get those notes typed up and out to everybody, and we'll have a report on it at our next meeting on October 3rd. So with that, we'll move on to our consent agenda. We have down here August 15th minutes, but we still do not have those, so we'll move on to the September 5th minutes, which is our last meeting. Anyone see anything that needs updating, changing, amending in any way? Cory, do you have any changes?
No, I didn't see anything.
Okay. All right, if no objections, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve school committee meeting minutes for September 5th, 2018.
Okay, motion by Jillian,
Second?
second by Lisa. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, unanimous, great. And now we're back to Mr. Romano again. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 items.
I
in a
have
row
some
here.
guest stars that'll help out with
All
some of
right.
this. It's not just me.
All right, so we're gonna start off with
When you
three.
asked me earlier if I was coming tonight, I'm like, I wanted to say, like, I don't think there's a meeting if I don't come. So.
There wouldn't be much of a
We
meeting.
could adjourn right now.
There's only-
All right, I take it back. No, I'm sorry. Sorry, we do. My ego getting in the way.
So, first up, we have Douglas High School, 3 broken chairs for
Yes,
disposal.
I have 3 broken office chairs. They've actually been in storage for a while. The arms are broken off 2, and one of them, I think one of the wheels is broken off.
Okay.
We don't need to bring in replacements or anything. We really just want to get them out of here.
Okay.
I think they've been actually out by the back loading dock for a month now, so
Still blows my mind that we have to.
just waiting.
Yeah,
Getting
why do
ready
you
for
have to
cheers.
approve 3 chairs? That is so
They're
crazy.
part of the, build-
Yeah,
part of the facility.
Yeah.
All right.
I'll make a motion to approve the disposal of 3 broken office chairs that have no salvage value as excess items no longer serviceable or needed at the high school.
Second.
Motion by Jillian, second by Julie. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That is unanimous. All
Did I
right.
wait that language? Or was that you?
Someone did. I know, that was impressive.
I know, that sounded really good. I'm like, I don't
Yeah,
think
I
I wrote
did a
that.
lot of these things, yeah.
I did the rough draft.
Next up, disposal of nurse office supplies and
So,
books.
there are a dozen reference books in the nurse's office. I don't know if you guys have the list, but the most recent ones are from 2004. There's some that we've actually had, they were published when I was still in high school, so they're out of date. And then there's a pair of worn out, or 5 pairs of worn out crutches. Sometimes we collect them. I think we still have plenty if we get rid of those. And then one outdated commode, and I checked, there's no resale value on used
All right.
commodes, so.
Okay. So we don't have language on this one, but
Yeah, I
I
didn't
want to
get
give a
this
go
one.
on.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
So how about, I'll make a motion to approve the disposal of nurses' office supplies / books as stated.
And they have no salvage
Yeah, a
value.
lot on
With-
that have no salvage value.
All right, hang on, let me pull that one back up.
Yeah.
Let me do that one
Use the
over
same,
Go.
yeah.
You're good for the first half.
Okay,
just add on.
so I'll make a motion to approve the disposal of nurses' office supplies / books as stated that have no salvage value as excess items no longer serviceable or needed at the high school.
Excellent. Motion by Jillian,
Second?
second by Lisa. Any other discussion?
Point of information.
Yes.
How do you go about disposing of medications and also, like, are they looked at once a year, disposed of at the end of the year? And can you store Tylenol and, I just had to slip this in, can you store like Tylenol and stuff on schools anymore?
So I'll answer the ones that I can, and then I'll get, if you might know some of them too. So I know that,
Happens we have the lead nurse,
I'm just.
Oh, that's right.
Because we're talking about nurses.
can I defer to the lead nurse?
just so happens.
I'm not prepared, no. Well, a lot of times, if the Tylenol is expired, I'll bring it home and dispose of it. And we don't have any medications parents will pick up. EpiPens, we've had, who's the service that'll come, take our sharps and EpiPens?
Dave Ryan will contractor in the first year for any
Yeah.
for any sharp
Yeah.
boys,
Right.
supplies like that. And also Officer Brett has taken any prescription medications that wind up being left over, like, we try to calculate out to the end of the year,
Right.
just have a parent not have access, but sometimes we do, or things change during the course of the year. And Brett has taken it as 24/7 disposal at the
Mhm.
Oxbridge Police Department.
Yeah,
That actually enables us.
that's what I bring mine.
Great.
And then bringing in Tylenol, it's just, if parents have a note, it's typically what it is. Just-
Bring it in.
Sorry,
Student
I
wants
know
to-
this has nothing to do with like the actual, but I just wanted to bring up the point,
Yep.
clarification. I was just curious, actually, while we were talking about that. If,
What, just
do you,
disposing?
do you
No.
actually store the Tylenol here, or do parents have to bring it in? Like Tylenol,
Yes,
ibuprofen,
yes,
stuff like
we
that?
have a supply.
Yeah.
And parents bring it.
And the same thing, you just go through at the end of the year and dispose of it if it's expired. Okay, that's all. I was just curious how we go about doing that.
It's, if parents bring it in, we'll put the student's name on it, and it's just for the student.
Okay, fair enough. So that's all for my discussion.
Okay,
Thank you.
thanks. Any other discussion? So we have a motion and second already?
Yep.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. Great.
Glad you were
Thank
here.
you. Thank you.
Do you want to bring Mr. Pacheco up?
Are you for the overnight course? What's next, overnight course?
We have-
Out-of-state
Sorry, out-of-state
band
band
performance?
in Woonsocket.
Okay. But Mr. Pacheco?
Out of state.
He's on agenda, he's gonna.
He hasn't got an agenda in front of him, that's the problem.
Well,
Okay.
I have everything in front of me, but I just
Oh,
wanted to
okay.
No, so,
Wrong
yeah,
one?
we have
That's-
out-of-state band and then chorus trip after that.
refer. There you go.
So for those who are maybe not familiar, Anthony is the new band director replacing Mr. Elliott. He was the assistant last year. He is a teacher, music teacher at the middle school,
Great.
year 2.
Yeah, so basically, we're just getting permission to go on the October 8th band trip, or marching band trip parade to the Oktoberfest in Woonsocket. We do this every year, and it's just a great exposure for the band and to meet other bands and stuff like that.
Oktoberfest parade, good for them.
You're going so far.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like the
Anyone?
golf team going to Thompson.
Okay, any questions for Mr. Pacheco?
No. No.
Okay,
Have fun.
all right.
I'll make a motion to approve the high school band's participation in the Woonsocket, Rhode Island Oktoberfest Parade on Monday, October 8th, 2018. Second?
Any other discussion? Is there a rain date?
No, I think they do rain or shine, right?
Happens
Rain or
that day,
shine.
yeah, okay. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. Thank you.
First trip is next.
Yep, student encore.
An encore.
Right there in case you needed to.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So every other year, our chorus travels. Some years we go to competitions, other years we go to workshops. The trip I'm proposing is an exact copy of one that we did 2 years ago, where we went to a workshop on Broadway with Broadway professionals, and then later that evening got to see them in the musical. It was a great experience for the kids to actually work with professionals in the industry, and then actually see them doing their craft later that night. We'll do some sightseeing as time allows. You know, it's always difficult to tell in the city how far you can go when the traffic is what it is. This particular this particular workshop is midweek. It's hard to get performers on the weekends. They're doing matinees and, double performances. So for this one, we would be leaving on a Tuesday morning and driving out, doing our workshop, check into the hotel, get some food, go see the musical in the evening, and then the next day just doing some sightseeing in the area before we head back. And everybody's in school bright and early Thursday morning, smiling and happy. That's the plan, anyway.
Very favorable feedback last year, last trip.
Outstanding, yeah. Surprisingly, I put this out to my leadership team, whether they wanted to do this type of festival or go to a competition. And last year, we went to a competition, and they performed very well, so they still had that experience fresh in their minds, and they said either one would be great. Both experiences were outstanding for them. So I thought this year, our numbers are a little bit lower as we work our way through the rebuild in the middle school and start to get our numbers back up. This would be a good year to not do a competition and go and get a workshop under our belt.
I can't, these are excused absences on these days?
Yes.
Is that how that works? Yes, okay. Okay. Any other questions? Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve an overnight chorus trip to New York City on March 5th and 6th of 2019.
Okay, motion by Jillian.
Second.
Second by Kelly. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Denoncourt.
Student activities account.
Student activity count next, Josh.
All right.
I'm just letting you.
So we have I do have the agenda, I just have to flip back and forth. So technology doesn't always make it easier. This year's freshman class, the class of 2022, if you want to feel a little dated, they need to establish their student activities account for their fundraising and to pay for their class expenses. They have their officers elected. They have advisors appointed. That's Ms. Lavin and Ms. Novicki. And they will participate in their training with Ms. McDermott, and we're going to have Ms. Keegan come down and do some training for all the advisors so they know what they're doing with that money. And so we'd like to just establish that account.
So pretty standard. So looking for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the creation of a student activity account for the class of 2022.
Excellent. Motion by Jillian,
Second?
second by Lisa. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Thank you. Good luck, freshmen. All right. Next, Jillian? you
Spain,
wanna-
trip to Spain,
Right.
changes in Spain.
I was gonna get another.
Yeah, I actually don't have,
Well, he's not leaving.
I could.
We could squeeze him out for a
He's
little
just,
bit.
he's the fixture over here.
Yeah, I'm just,
Okay.
The hood ornament.
like I'm testifying in front of Congress. Hi, Ms. Floria.
Hello. I'm back again.
Hello.
So basically, there was just a little change to the trip to Spain for this upcoming summer, 2019. We decided, after getting feedback from parents and students from the Costa Rica trip, it didn't seem like the trip to Barcelona and Madrid was quite what the kids were looking for and their parents. So I did a little research and I tried to find a tour that would fit better for them and that would make more kids want to go, but not changing it completely because we have been saying we're going to take a trip to Spain, so I wanted to keep that in there. So instead, I just added Portugal to the trip. So now it's going to be Portugal, Sevilla, and Madrid, and no Barcelona. So we would start in Portugal and make our way to Madrid. The requested dates are still in July 2019. We won't know the exact set of dates. It's a 9-day tour total. They don't tell us the exact dates until like about 3 months before the trip. But our requested dates are July 8th through July 16th. And our earliest departure would be July 4th, and our latest departure would be July 12th. But we did get our requested dates for the last trip to Costa Rica, so we're hoping we'll get the July 8th through July 16th
Doesn't
dates.
affect school. It doesn't affect the school calendar, so.
So do we,
Yeah.
we just need permission to hold meetings and advertise in the school.
No worries. Any questions? No worries. All right.
And this is a trip that is not school-sponsored. This is just the opportunity to use the facility to promote the trip.
Right.
It's not something that we are spearheading. The name of the company again, I can't forget.
EF Tours Education.
EF Tours, that's right, education.
I'll make a motion to approve allowing fundraising and meetings at Douglas High School in support of a non-school sponsored trip to Spain and Portugal, previously only Spain, in July 2019.
All right. Motion by Jillian. Do I hear a second?
Second?
Second from Lisa. Any other discussion?
How are you gonna promote this, like, to kids that aren't in a Spanish class, that, or might not talk to their parents about it?
Well, I kind of had a little issue with that already. I put in the announcements. Mr. Romano probably read it at least 10 times in the announcements twice a day. And the kids just didn't tell their parents about the informational meeting, so I did not have a big turnout. So I was thinking about maybe trying to have another one. I know you suggested putting it on the principal's blog.
Yeah.
Principals
yes,
will
And
be
they,
good.
even though it's
And
not school
more people
sponsored, is
could
that
see
okay?
it.
I don't know.
But the other.
Technically, yes. It would have to be identified on the school blog also, again, in the same manner as which the motion was made, that it's not a school-sponsored trip, but there's an opportunity for.
Well, I've had posters hanging up. We put in the announcements. I have a Google Classroom page for kids to sign up for where I post all the information to. And then the other Spanish teachers at the school know about the trip, and I've given them the information and told them if any of their kids are interested. And I know Ms. Reber told the incoming freshmen last year that would be here this year about it. So I'm hoping I'll get enough kids to sign up for the trip.
Maybe a quick tweet.
I was going to say, I do have, and I was going to give the accurate count, but like over 100 more followers than Mr. Delaney does.
Wow.
Yeah, if you
I hear to
want to
defend
keep that out
himself.
for me.
I will, yes.
Thank you.
Well, if you tweet it out, the 500 that are following me, Mr. Delaney, can
Yes.
also get it from me if you would like to as well.
Yeah, I just don't feel like parents get the information that the kids are told,
I am
especially. Maybe
pulling-
it might be a male thing, I don't know, but.
I know I got the
I
information.
don't know, Ms. Reber, how did you
So-
get so many, how did you and Ms. Salinas get so
Mom, do you
many
have an extra
people from Costa
3,500?
Rica?
I don't know. We told the kids,
We-
they
we-
told their parents.
They are in high school, so we are really counting on the high school age students to tell their parents.
They do, but it's just like an hour before.
I'm in my last of, I think it's 12 consecutive years of asking my kids every day, How was school? Good. What'd you do? Nothing much.
Yeah. All right. So I think we have a motion and a second already. Any other discussion? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ms. Floyd.
Thanks.
All right.
You.
One more.
California trip.
That's you.
Yep.
Do I not have the link? Oh, there it is.
So Brianna is
Actually, it was in the packet.
now a
It
paraprofessional
was.
at the high school. She is also working as our Best Buddies advisor and a few other things. So
Cheerleaders?
cheerleader and so forth.
Freshman
So
class
she's settling
advisor.
right in.
Okay,
Oh, Brianna, sorry, I missed that.
yes, hi. So I was just wondering if I could have permission to advertise and do fundraising for a California trip, over the summer, July of, 2019. So it's through the same travel agency as, they're going through for Spain. So we would be going, it's called the California Panorama Trip, and we would start in San Fran, spend a couple days there, then make our way down to LA and then fly back home. It's just a 6-day trip.
How are you making your way down to LA? Are they flying you down there, or is there?
Yes, flying. Yeah.
Is it just for anybody?
Yep, for anyone who wants to come.
Is it the same dates or different dates?
So it's
It's-
different. It kind of overlapped from their requested dates. So mine was July 12th until July 16th would be my preferred dates. But they were a little spread out. Yeah, but that's my preferred is July 12th through the 16th. Or 19th, excuse me.
So again, that it would be the same expectations would be that we are providing a venue for Brianna to host meetings, and also to promote the trip through this agency, and that again, it would just be, that would be our only obligation to it, is the opportunity to provide a venue for them to present meetings.
Now, do you have to have a certain number of students to make it happen?
Yes, 15 is the minimum.
And what is yours? Okay, just a question.
Okay.
Anyone?
Any other discussion, questions?
I'll make a motion to approve allowing Miss Brianna Novicki
Yes.
to hold informational meetings and fundraisings at Douglas High School in support of a non-school sponsored trip for students to San Francisco and Los Angeles, California during July of 2019.
Second. Motion from Jillian, second by Julie. Any other discussion, questions? No? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Abstained? Okay. All right, all set, thank you.
I think you're all done.
I am, yeah.
Good job.
Just like, you people organizing trips, just so you know, like, the Army always sends me to lousy places, so if you want to bring me to a nice place, like, I wouldn't be
I'm gonna
opposed.
start fundraising.
You can sign.
I know, I'm gonna
Oh, sell those lollipops or candy bars.
candy bars.
Thank you, Mr. Romano.
Thank you.
So next on our extension, Douglas
Yes.
Elementary School, .5 FTE nurse. So I'm assuming,
So we have our lead nurse, Ms. Campbell is here, and Mel is with her, Mel Brundage is with her as well, to talk a little bit about the reason for the request, give you some details on.
Hi, I'm Kathy Campbell, nurse leader and middle school nurse, and this is Mrs. Brundage, elementary school nurse.
Hi.
hello.
Hi.
Okay.
So the background is due to the large number of health office visits, the large number of prescription medications and interventions required during the school day, coupled with the acuity of some of these young students, we would like to request that assistance be given to Mrs. Brundage in the form of a .5 RN, Monday through Friday, during the 3.5 busiest hours of the day. This year, Melanie has the sole medical supervision of 355 children in grades 2 through 5 who may visit the health office for any number of reasons. There are 171 documented conditions or alerts recorded for these children, ranging from seizure disorders to anaphylaxis to pulmonary, metabolic, hemolytic, and cardiovascular disorders. There are many students who have life-saving emergency medications prescribed to them, including Diastat for seizures, epinephrine for anaphylaxis, and albuterol for asthma attacks.
There are multiple students for whom Melanie is responsible for administering medications. This year, she has a total of 4 students with insulin-dependent diabetes who require multiple glucose checks daily, as well as calculated dosages of insulin given. On a typical day, when all of the students' blood glucose levels are within normal limits, this amounts to 3 glucose checks for each student and 2 insulin dosages for each student. If any one or all of these students' glucose levels changes to high or low, this requires more intensive, lengthier, and additional procedures and monitoring. Also, if physical education or extra recess is the plan of the day, additional testing may be required. Having diabetes is a delicate balance between energy consumed and energy metabolized that can both be life-threatening and time-consuming, especially with young children. Melanie so far has 4 students who require oral medications each day. She also has a lengthy medical procedure in which she administers 4 medications with a liquid food. This student is severely disabled and has a history of active multiple seizures. Going by historic levels, Melanie had a total of 9,295 visits last year.
It's only 52 a day.
Is that what it is? Can you divide it?
The majority of these visits lasted 5 to 10 minutes, while she had 99 visits that lasted over an hour. Of note is the fact that the scheduled medications which Melanie must administer are not calculated into the visit count. All scheduled medication administrations are over and above the visit count. The vast majority of these visits and medication administrations all happen between the hours of 9:30 and 1:30. Lastly, but by no means least in priority, are the multitude of parent, teacher, and administration communications that are required each day. If we consider parent communications alone, last year Melanie communicated with parents 918 times during the year. As you can imagine, some of these conversations are quite lengthy. To accomplish all of the above, Melanie has consistently arrived earlier than her scheduled start time and remained later than her scheduled end time due to the fact that she feels a personal responsibility that each and every student and family in the district receive competent, consistent, and professional nursing services. We would like for you, the school committee, to approve the creation of a special .5 full-time employee to work during the hours of 10 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. This would provide Melanie with the needed assistance during the most critical times of the day. Do you have any questions for Mrs. Brundage or myself?
I think that that was very well thought out, very useful information. You know, that was great that you provided all those numbers.
Yeah.
It brings the reality of it to life,
Yeah.
to be honest.
And to be very honest with you, that's what makes it in the computer. So that's not every Band-Aid, little hug, I miss my mom type of, moment and stuff like that. For those of you that know me, know that I adore my job. I have the best nursing job on the planet. I like to work independently. I have a way that I run things. I'm very, how I want things documented, how I want things. So it took a lot for me to say, it's a little tight this year. We've had a fair amount of kids either coming from the primary school, a fair amount of kids coming to the district. I know that you've been addressed with Ms. Zerkott with a lot of more one-to-one. That does trickle down to some acuity that I'm seeing. Kids with behavioral issues, children that are disabled, children that are nonverbal. A little more of a challenge to assess, a little more time on the phone with a parent, a little more time with the paraprofessional and classroom teacher. The diabetics are awesome. The parents are awesome. But, one of my kids, there was 10 that I did the other day. Because he was just...
10 checks on the one
10
student.
checks on the one student, just for a little tweaking. I had a student the other day, and these kids are amazing. They're independent, and we have a lot of technology that follows them. The technology is a little double-edged, because the technology starts to feel things, and the parents get it on their iPhone before the child feels it, and then it's, kind of, which is great to an extent. It just adds a little bit to the workload. I had a student the other day with a blood sugar 39. I worked 25 years in the hospital in Woonsocket. 39 was a crisis in the hospital. we're doing this in school. And it was fine. It was absolutely fine. You know, she responded, it was, but it's kind of that level that we're getting to, some of the daily tasks. And like I said, I really like to work by myself, because I'm very particular about how I do things and how the office is run, and but it's kind of tight. There's not a lot of wiggle room. Could easily stay till 5 o'clock every day. I've been making it out by about 4. And then apologizing to my dog, who's like this when I get home. And that's okay too, you know what I mean? I don't, it's not about that. It's just, you know.
Need.
Well, I mean, my building too, the age of the kids, every grade in my building has mandated screenings versus the high school that has 10th grade. The middle school has 7th grade. You know, when you're in elementary, it's second has this, third has this, fourth has this, fifth has that. You know what I mean, type of thing. And it can be a fair amount to do it right, you know?
What happens when you're not there?
Well, I have great, Kathy, we ran into I had a family tragedy last year, and I wound up missing some time. And people filled in. I mean, Mr. Cedarbaum was in the nurse's office as much as he could. Kathy did double duty, Ms. Campbell between 2 buildings. We have 2 subs in the district that work nursing jobs. So they're limited to us. We get some people on as subs, and then they need more hours, or they've accepted positions in other districts, kind of going forward more full-time. We've got 2 field trips scheduled for the same day, and we're scrambling. I've changed personal days. We find our own coverage, you know. We don't take sick days.
We come to work sick.
You know what I mean? I mean, thank God, but I mean, that type of thing, you kind of have to plan it because you need the coverage, particularly for diabetic children, a tube feeding, some active seizure stuff.
So,
Do we have money?
Well,
Can we find money?
Are they're all set?
no, I do have
Monies.
a couple of questions, one directly related. So, this came up during our budget subcommittee meeting yesterday. You mentioned that it might be difficult to hire a part-time nurse. Are there contracting services that we could potentially use, and how expensive
Then you're
would
talking
that-
big bucks.
Yeah, and I guess would we be able to do it at 2 hours a day with a contracting service, and would that actually have any benefit if that worked out to the same dollar amount somehow, or, I don't know.
Right.
Are there options that we can explore if you don't? But and the other thing, and it doesn't sound like that's an option, just from looks on your faces, so I'm just gonna move on. The other thing, have we ever explored with regards to substitute nurses, a collaboration with other surrounding districts, where you could hire one floating nurse between districts, where that person's always got work and doesn't have to worry about going and finding another full-time job?
That's
and-
difficult, especially with the different salaries that towns offer. I mean, we offer a competitive salary, and we still have trouble finding substitutes.
Right.
Like Mr. Maine said, there's full employment out there, and
Yeah.
everybody has a job.
Right.
No, that's what I mean. I think
Yeah.
it's gonna be difficult to find a sub for individual days, but if you had one floating between 4 different school districts, that'd be a full-time job for that person
I think
potentially.
within the
and,
district,
you know.
you'd be hard, I mean, amongst multiple districts, like I called Webster for something the other day, and there's a float that goes through all the schools in there, picking up, helping with the
Okay.
paperwork in the beginning of the year, stuff like that. But I think going district to district,
Driving time.
Okay.
I'm not sure. I
There
don't-
are a few nurse leaders like Weston, I think there's a group that circulate within those districts,
Yeah,
but not around.
But within district, though.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay.
And I mean, I live in Douglas. I know we got an override. I know I'm cringing at thinking what the next,
No.
tax bill's gonna be.
Well, we get it, no.
I take that into consideration, believe me.
Well, you shouldn't cringe, because
Yeah.
as somebody who's had multiple dealings with the nurses in multiple schools in this district,
Yeah.
there's not enough good things that we can say about you and what you guys do. And if you're asking that you need the support, we know you really need the
I
support.
agree.
You probably could have used it about 3 years ago, would be my guess. So I
like to stay busy. You know, I mean,
makes
I'm an old
Job.
warhorse. I told you, 25 years I worked in Woonsocket. I have no problem with rolling up my sleeves and working hard. I work through lunch. It's not about that. It's just,
Well, we know that the
Getting a
medical
little-
needs of the kids
Yeah.
in the school district are
They're increasing.
changing.
Yep, yep.
It really, yes.
Yep.
It's not just putting Band-Aids on
Right.
anymore.
it really isn't. And yeah, it's sad if that's the perception, and I know that that is not the perception, but it really has, what we're doing technically rivals, like I said, a blood sugar of 39 would require intravenous access in the hospital and serum and all that kind of stuff, and we manage it in the school.
Plus, having the .5 be in that building, it just creates consistency for the students. The same person is always going to be down there when they come down and so forth. So that's part of the battle in itself.
Okay.
It's going to be a hard role to fill. I mean, to find somebody kind of for those hours, I don't even know salary-wise what you're looking at. I mean, our sub right now, I think we offer 140.
40 a day.
So that breaks down to, 20 hours a day for a nurse. It makes twice that in the hospital, easily,
Right.
hands down. But mother's hours, good weather, you know what I mean? Like, you're not
Student schedule.
going in 2 hours in a snowstorm and planning to stay overnight,
Right.
so.
I think it will
Like
be a
the old
challenge
days.
to find somebody to fit this role.
Worth a shot, right?
Optimistic.
Definitely
But I
worth a
think we
shot.
need to try.
Worth a shot.
Worth a
I
shot.
agree.
All right. So I will,
I'll make a motion,
you're on fire, Jillian. Go ahead. No.
Fire.
Yeah.
make a motion to approve a .5 FTE nurse position for the elementary school, the estimated salary of $25,000 to be funded from school choice.
Okay, motion from Jillian. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second from Kelly. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Go through the process, obviously, of posting that, and then have Kathy and Mel be involved, along with John Bell, in the process of interviewing and trying to find a candidate
Okay,
as soon as possible.
great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Douglas Elementary School before and after school instrumental music stipend.
So Matthew Buono is joining us. He is the music teacher at the elementary school and the primary school. What we have presented to you is a little background. Teaching assignment-wise, both Anthony and Matthew are fully booked. And so one of the areas where we are not able to provide services at this time has been in the form of elementary school lessons. Now, I know we did lessons again last year. I don't know if you have the numbers, Matthew, as to how many students participated in the lessons.
Enrollment was 25, ended up being 22 because some students ended up leaving the program mid-year. But that was just fifth grade alone. This year, we are hoping to open that up to fourth grade as well, so I'm predicting enrollments will be almost double. I've had many parents and students come up to me at the elementary open house asking about that. And so I'm predicting for there to be a high enrollment for instrument lessons.
And so Matthew also does the choral program as well. So this will be an extension. Because Anthony last year was doing the lessons over there, but now with him being full-time at the middle school, he's just not available. Matthew was already full-time at two buildings, so something had to give, and that was the lessons. So this is a viable alternative. As you know, in the Appendix C, we already have consideration for the music lessons after school at the middle school that we're not taking advantage of this year because Anthony is doing it during the school day during the DEAR program. So he's having an opportunity. So they're getting their lessons there. This is on the exact same lines as that, providing the elementary school students with an opportunity to participate in music lessons. Matthew was talking about 7 instruments probably as in that he'll provide lessons for. The only difference between what's already in the Appendix C is that because he's already doing after school for some of the choral, he needs to be available to do some of the lessons in the morning and some of the lessons in the afternoon, depending upon signups, depending upon number of instruments, number of days, and so forth. So it's very similar to the program that has been in, I don't know how long that's been in existence for, Al, if you know the lessons program after school was, I think it was relatively new.
That's us new, yeah.
Mr. Elliott's employment, and then eventually moved to the after-school time when we started cutting back on positions.
Right.
We've been offering them during the school day as part of that other position.
Right. The other upside to that, as Al was talking about, there used to be a pull-out component. This would keep us from having to pull students out of core classes in order to go down and do their band lessons, which gives them more time in the academics and still provides them the venue to learn an instrument. And we had talked a little bit about not a band performance, but an instrument-based performance at the end of the year for parents to come in and see my child's playing the flute. The flutes are on at 7 o'clock, and they're going to do a song or two, and so they have an opportunity to still also have a show component to it.
Right, absolutely. And the fifth graders, with Mr. Pacheco last year, since he was teaching them, had an opportunity to perform with the middle school band at their spring concert, which I thought was a great idea to introduce them to that performance ensemble so they have some form of application to their learning. And so I would like to collaborate again with Mr. Pacheco with having the fifth graders have that opportunity again, so that it also as a feeder program for the middle school and the high school instrumental programs as well.
Which is much like Al does with his choral program. They come down every year to the middle school and do a performance as well. And last year they combined, and both the middle school and the high school did a combined performance, which was really good. And again, it just continues to support what we believe is a positive rebuilding of the music programs. And the numbers right now are showing that. Al had a big senior class last year, but his numbers I'm confident will come back up. And now with Tony teaching that during the school day and Matthew doing it at the elementary school, and now we have a feeder system in place, which is a good thing.
So my only question is there a fee for students?
No, because the issue is that they're going to need to rent their instruments, so I don't believe there was a fee based last year as well.
No, there was no fee last year, and we discussed the fee, and we both came to the conclusion that because they have to pay money to rent their instruments,
What is that like? What is
Pretty
that?
expensive.
For example, if you're renting from last year's company that we use Falsetti Music based in West Springfield. For a flute, clarinet, trumpet, trombone, or the percussion kit, it is $45 a month to be renting those instruments. For the alto sax and the French horn, it is $85 a month to be renting those instruments. So because it...
$50 to $850, somewhere in that
Yeah.
ballpark.
So when you count in the school year, and that also, they will be paying that also throughout the summer months as well. Oh, is the summer free? Sorry.
If you want to buy the instrument, it is.
Yeah, I can remember for me, I played flute growing up, and when I got to the high school and bought my own flute, I believe I paid about $2,500 for my instrument, and that was after my parents were paying a rental fee for just the beginner flute. So they are pretty expensive to rent out, so I would appreciate if we could not charge a user fee for this.
Which I understand, but I think it's important for the public and for the parents and students that take part in this, that's a service to them that, you know, if you're playing a sport, you're buying all your stuff. You're paying a user fee. You know, I know that's later on throughout the system, but when you're playing sports or gymnastics or dance or whatever, it's on the parent. So I just wanted to bring that up because I know that we've had to dismantle everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's just something that I wanted to mention because of the instrument cost is why the fee is not there.
Correct.
So I wanted that to be.
Thank you.
Yes, absolutely.
Yep.
So.
But it's also in the younger grade too,
You pay
versus
for
like.
dance in the younger grade, you pay for soccer.
Yeah, I know
and
what you're saying.
it's just the point,
Yeah.
you know?
So, you know, we're already, you know, mid-late September, so this would start in October?
The moment that everything gets approved and everything's, all the Ts are crossed and the I's are dotted, letters will go out, dates will be set up, everything will hit the ground running.
And then going forward, it would run right from opening of school right through the end of school? Is that-
Yep, it would run right until probably around, I end chorus about the first week of June.
Okay.
So it would probably run until around the same time.
Okay.
There'll always be the process of sign-ups and
Yeah.
and letters and so forth. So, I mean, October is really a start date. We kind of knew that going in, that it would be pushed back a little bit because of this process, but,
Right.
yep.
Okay. Any other questions, comments?
I might as well just keep going.
You're on a roll, don't stop.
I'll make a motion to approve a stipend in the amount of $2,298 for FY 2019 for Douglas Elementary School before after-school instrumental music and add it to Appendix C of the Douglas Teachers Association contract.
Motion from Jillian, do I hear a second? Second from Lisa.
If I could jump in real quickly, I do have documentation from the Douglas Teachers Association on an agreed stipend for this position. I did have to bring it with me. It's on my desk, but we do have 3 copies of a signed agreement on the salary of.
You're not going to make us go through Appendix C in entirety again, are you?
No.
I never want to see that again.
We're just adding.
I'm
I think you're
hoping not
surprised
to,
by
but-
that, President.
That may influence my vote. All right, we have a motion and a second, and a discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, good luck with the
Thank you
program.
very much.
Thank you.
All right, last and certainly not but least, in our consent agenda, paraprofessional rates. Mr. Maines?
Sure. So I don't think we need to have a long dissertation on this, because I know we talked about it at the last meeting, actually the last couple of meetings we talked about it. And that is that for our paraprofessionals are woefully underpaid. Mrs. Keegan will give you some information on the areas, and I know that she did before, but she did some more research. The work that they do is extremely important. Finding and retaining quality paraprofessionals is always difficult. And more importantly, when on an opening it becomes available, getting someone to take the position at $11.90 an hour is really, really challenging. And so we had talked about the possibility of revisiting and revising the present structure as a start to looking at the whole paraprofessional position within the school district, and had talked and we met at the subcommittee yesterday. We are looking at the possibility of increasing the paraprofessionals, only not the ABAs, just the paraprofessional salaries by $1 an hour. And Courtney has details on.
I do have a quick question about
Yep.
that. Why is that, why is it only the paras and not the ABAs?
In comparing the ABA salary structure, they're pretty comparable to all of the area schools. The paras are not comparable.
Magnitude, I mean, it's, the paras are just, the magnitude is
Yep.
a different.
I would say in answering the question, there's no question that down the road that would also need to be looked at for the ABAs, but
And
right now.
I think also too, the job is completely different.
Right,
You
right.
know?
Yep. But we do believe that the salary structure for ABAs is competitive and comparable to those in the Blackstone Valley.
So my other question about that too is that moving forward in next steps, would it be considered paraprofessionals and ABA when you're drafting different things in language as far as a handbook or whatever you were talking about?
So right now, the handbook
Affects
reflects the
both.
work, the handbook reflects, that's being processed, reflects both the job responsibilities of a para and an ABA. The evaluation tool, no,
Different one, those are two, there were two different handbooks. Do you mean the one that has
No,
to
no,
do
there's
with
not two different handbooks.
pay, benefits, and things of that nature?
So just in this, in the sense of like, they should have reviews.
yes, so you're talking
Okay.
about that, so yes.
All right,
So
yeah.
there is, the handbook is geared, that we've created, is, talks about the job responsibilities, the manner in which they perform their job, and then there's also an evaluation tool that's in there. Now, as I said to you at the last meeting, once we have that finalized, that document finalized, I will be bringing it forward to you for your review, and then, if approved, then we would then move out to have Mrs. Urquhart, myself, and present to all of the paraprofessionals the contents of the handbook, the evaluation tool, and how it'll be utilized.
So
that will all
paras
be part
and
of it.
ABAs.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So what if there's other things considered outside of this increase, like an additional day? Would that impact both?
Right, so
Or
that's,
Yeah.
so as we talked about 2 weeks ago, was that this we were hoping was an immediate response to a pressing problem, with the expectation that we would continue discussing the paraprofessionals and ABAs with regards to salary schedules, personal days. So there would be some work to do holidays as well. There was another thing that we looked into, is possibly paid for some other additional holidays. So So that would be the next step to it. But our concern, more importantly, was right now, we knew that there was a glaring issue that needed to be addressed modestly as it is. It's at least expressing to our paraprofessional staff that we appreciate the work that they're doing. We understand that it is not paid at the same scale as many of the schools in the Blackstone Valley, and we're trying to make a commitment to improving that for them.
So what would a timeline look like for the second phase of this?
So conceivably, hope for a rollout of next year, if we can get together and work through the details, it's conceivable we could have it ready for a rollout for next year.
So there's concerns for me there that, our last meeting, this has been put off for over 10 years. And the concerns for me are, this term's up in May. You're not sure if you'll be here or not. So how do we know that that's going to really move forward and happen?
Well, we're intending to work
It's
on
a
it.
directive.
I think the paras won't let it go, though.
As far as even, as far as it is a directive from the school committee to take a look at it.
Right.
It actually came from us to take a look at it. We all agree we need to take a look at it.
The only reason why I'm saying that is, we've put it on the back burner. I wasn't on the committee when discussion has happened prior to this, so I don't know what the discussions were. And we can keep putting it on the back burner. And sitting here, morally, I feel that we shouldn't be putting it on the back burner.
No, it's not.
So,
I guess if I can emphasize to you that
No, and I'm not
it's a
saying that
priority
you
for us.
are.
Yeah.
but just knowing like a timeline and how we know it's going to happen and it's not going to, something else came up and now it's going on the back burner again. You know what I mean? I'm not saying it's due to anybody. It's just a discussion that I don't want it to be a dead issue. If something else comes up, these people don't have a contract. Non-contract staff are an afterthought because we don't have to do it.
We also have to keep in mind, I think the bigger issue before was the budget. We didn't have the money.
Right. No,
So
and
right
I
now,
totally get it.
I think that's really what it was. I don't want people to think that we back-burnered it. 'cause
But
I
it
don't-
hasn't been the budget
But
for 12 years either.
But I agree, like, it is something, so
So
I feel like that was probably the biggest problem.
what if I said to you, we will do our very best to get this processed prior to the May timeframe that you're referring to.
Well, 'cause I think.
Well, actually, we kind of
I think
have to
discussed
because of
having
the
it
budget.
as part of the
It has to-
FY
Yeah, it's part of the
it would have
FY20
to
budget.
be-
It has to be
that
done
would be
before
in
then.
the budget
You know.
talks.
And if I may say too, as far as the process, I don't know, like since I've been here, Jillian, and actually looking back since 2007, it really is true that not just the paras, but all those rates that I bring for non-union staff, it was just a directive to me, to prepare a certain percentage. I brought it, it got voted on, so, but then it did become a really big issue just the last couple of years where we started notice a big difference in the trend and
Clarify
the
something.
ramifications thereof.
Have the powers and ABAs gotten the COLAs all along?
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Okay,
The
so
same
there
code,
have
that's
been
the only
changes
thing that's
or
ever
no-
happened
no
every single year.
adjustments. They've got-
Yeah.
And also,
Nothing
remember,
different.
1% of
Remember
the
that-
$18,000
Yeah, no,
salary is.
Yeah.
the pay rates, I mean, we used to get paid minimum wage was like, what, $7.75 a few years ago, so $11, like 5 years ago, was pretty decent. But now we're in a different time.
Right.
Yeah.
So
That's where, like, these past 2 years, it's like, wow, that's not a lot of money.
the issue, I think,
last few years.
Jillian, is that to make up for all of those years is not something that we're going to be able to do in one fell
No,
swoop.
I get that. I
It would
totally
have to
get
be,
that.
it would have to be implemented in incremental gains, I think, more than anything else.
Right.
Just because of, there's no guarantee that, that the financial conditions for the district will be rosy
Right.
in May and June this year, so. But,
Yeah.
And
So
I
I
don't know that-
I understand your concerns with trying to do it piecemeal, because, there is a chance that
Well, that's it.
phases 2 and 3 don't get done if something
Right.
happens, but at the same time, it's again, knowing where we've come from financially, I have a hard time overcommitting too much at this time. And, my preference would be to do something, again, a little bit more piecemeal on this.
yeah.
Just to ensure that we're on solid ground when we do it, and that we're not sliding back someplace else because, would this be as a contributing factor, I guess.
But I think we all agree that
But we
this
do definitely
the
do
first
agree,
step.
you know.
This is the
And-
first step.
and it
Well,
will
this
be
is
an
something
immediate
that,
step.
It doesn't require, looking at steps and lanes or
Right.
looking at days and so on. This is a quick and immediate response because it
Something
has been
immediately,
something that's
Something.
tangible, that they'll realize in an upcoming pay period, which I think is really important for them.
In the estimated cost, as you can see to this, is around $60,000, $62,000, so just to do that part too. And that was another part of it that, we have to be careful. We have no idea what we're getting in FY '20. We
Right.
really don't. We have no idea what we're getting, so. But I feel that, this is showing, I believe, this is the way I feel, that we're all collectively showing good faith, making a good faith effort to do something immediately to address the issue, and still saying this isn't the end of it. We are moving forward with reviewing as we go along as well.
There's an easy way to make sure we address it in the future.
Right.
Yep.
To rerun it day.
And I knew that was gonna come up.
You know.
I knew you were gonna say that. And I think too, like, I get the financial impact, but I think too that we have to be creative on how else we could, give back to them. You know what I mean? If it's a paid holiday or.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, we were looking at that as well.
That's
In fact,
what
I did some research on that as well, and Mr. Maines and
'cause
I were
we-
talking about that as well
We
today.
talked about the personal days, and the problem with
Yeah,
additional
yeah.
personal days is that a lot of the staff are one-to-one, and we don't have a sub that jumps in and replaces them. And so the expectation of the 180 working days is sort of, has to be sort of adhered to, because it just leaves us the shorthanded.
Well, past practice, they didn't hire subs
Right,
for paras.
Right.
ABAs they did,
right.
but,
And I
Well,
don't-
actually, before, we didn't have any subcategories at all. We created them new, all for secretary, paras and ABAs. I did those all at the same time, because we had cut so much of our staff that we had to have something, so all three of those went in.
And I imagine the nature of the relationship between the paras and the students that they're supporting makes it difficult to bring in a sub.
Somebody who just comes in for a
Absolutely.
day,
We want that continuity.
there's no relationship there. That
Right.
there's no-
well, and just delivering services, the sub does not know.
Yeah, it's just, similar to a sub nurse, I can't imagine how they would deal with something.
There was also a question that asked, and this one's kind of like not anything to do with it, but why is it that they can't collect unemployment on weeks off in summers?
Because they're considered 10-month, they're school employees. It's a known, that's for everybody.
Right.
Cafeteria, all of, as you know, schools are kind of a special nationwide
Yep.
category where you have it's a 10-month is considered a full-time FTE. And they know, everybody knows, this is a school
Right.
year and you are not employed in the summertime. We wouldn't want that. And
Question that
actually,
a couple
if we
people
did
asked.
have that, we would, oh my goodness, it would be a financial disaster.
And I
It really
get
would be.
that piece of it.
Yeah.
It was just a question that
Yeah.
I couldn't answer, so.
But we definitely understand your passion for it, Julie. I'm Jillian, and I think we all agree with you. This is I think that's a good first step. And again, to Mr. Main's point, we were talking about the personal days. We're here also for the students and that continuity and stability for the students. But definitely, we could conversely we could look at holidays.
Right.
They only get 4 holidays here. I did look at other districts. One in particular where they get a number more than that. So that is something I brought to his attention today, that would be a good alternative to
Yeah.
kind of get the same result, but
Right.
without, impacting the school day and the students.
I would just say the other thing that contributes to me wanting to take more of again, this phased approach is where we are in the school year right now, where there are, still in the first month, there's lots of changes still going on that are going to have financial impact. So again, it gives me pause to overcommit on this, knowing there's other things that are already in the works and other unknowns that I know we're going to walk through the door tomorrow. And I wouldn't want to push this off to November until those things are more clear. But if we were doing this in November and we had a better picture of kind of where do we stand on the school year,
Right.
after things have kind of shaken out, I might have a different tune. So that's where I think we can address some of it now and then address more of it with next year's budget.
As long as the commitment's there,
Well, I also think it's
definitely
important
is.
that the community realizes that where we might be paying $11.80 an hour, the closest that you'll find is somewhere around $13 an hour, $14 an hour.
Right.
And where we're paying $14 an hour, some places are paying $22, $23 an hour. So there's a significant differential between what we're paying and what some other districts are paying, just in the area.
But,
Yeah.
and again, I don't think we can bite off all that at once, and as it is,
Absolutely
the
not.
$1 will give folks anywhere from a 7 to an 8%, bump in their
Right.
hourly wage based on kind of where they're at now, so.
Yep.
It's not,
No, it's not an
it's
easy
it's
fix.
not a 1% COLA either, it's
Right.
it's a little more sizable with this, so.
All
Okay,
right.
any other discussion?
You all set? Everybody all set?
Questions, concerns? Okay, we'll entertain a motion.
Oh, come on, you've been doing
Come
so
on.
good.
Well, Jillian's taking a break from
Yeah,
this
especially
one.
this one, especially this one.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve the increase of $1 to each of the FY 2019 paraprofessional rates that were approved by the school committee on June 20th, 2018. New rates to become effective beginning Thursday, September 13th, 2018. The initial funding source to be school choice tuition, but will be funded by the general fund to the extent possible.
Motion by Jillian,
Second.
second from Lisa. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Unanimous. Thank you. All right.
If I could just take 1 second and acknowledge the work of our paraprofessionals that I
Yeah,
think
no.
often does not get recognized the way it should. They are a lifeblood to what we do, and they are a backbone to what we do, so just acknowledge that as well.
Yeah, no, and I think we're working with some of our most, at-risk and students and do a tremendous job in what they do. And
Absolutely.
vital to the functioning of our schools. So, all right, Courtney, do you have anything from transfers and reclassifications?
No, I don't, and I don't have a report either this
No
evening. Too many other things going on.
We're all broken up over here over that.
I'm more in shock than
It's
anything
over now.
else.
No offense, no, but we get to have a short meeting, that's all we're saying, So, I know we oftentimes can be here late nights, so. All right, anything else? Topics not anticipated? No? Okay. No executive session this time. I did mention I'd like to have one next time. We do have a deadline of November 1st to work with Mr. Maines on whether we're going to extend him or not. And
I was just talking to him about that. I heard in the community that he plans on staying another year.
that's the rumor. So.
The rumor mill has started.
No, but we do have to have discussions with regards to that. Actually, probably could have started tonight, but I think next time's more appropriate. So, plan on that for October 3rd, everyone, please. Okay.
Oh, actually, I'm sorry, there was one other thing. I will bring to you on October the 3rd the itinerary for the October 5th Professional Development Day.
Oh, great.
I meant to mention that earlier, I'm sorry. But we have a full schedule, options for all of the staff. There are 9 options available to our staff directly here in the district, and then there's some options off-site at Northbridge and Millis and something else. There's a nurses one in Millis, and there's a music one in Northbridge and a few other things. So there's plenty of options. We are, for the first time ever, asking our staff to go online and sign up so that we can have hard numbers for who's going where, so we can set up rooms and so forth. But I'll bring the entire list on the 3rd. It's a really solid schedule. Cindy Socha's done a really good job of pulling it together. Plenty of options for our staff, and the paraprofessionals and ABAs are attending those sessions as well, taking advantage of the training.
Great. Okay. Anything else? I will entertain a motion to adjourn in that case.
I'll make a motion to adjourn
At what time?
at
At 8:10. Okay, we have a motion to adjourn at 8:10 PM on September 19th. Do I hear a second?
second.
Second from Lisa. All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you,
Solid
everyone.
performance tonight, Jillian.